special kind of Q&A. This is Ask Me Anything Q&A. I'm an open book. So literally, if you want to know anything about how I do things, or about Gabby, or about Richard, although he can answer those questions, anything about me or my blindness, because I know there are a lot of questions, you know, I get them all the time. So anything, nothing's off limits. Are there any questions?
Anna?
I was wondering, why do you open your eyes when you talk if you
Why
can't
do
see?
I open my eyes when that's a really good question. Why do I open my eyes when I talk if I can't see? Well, the reason for that is my eyes actually have a will of their own. It's kind of fun. So I believe it might be because of my disease. I'm not entirely sure, but my eyes always move. So they're never still, unless I'm sleeping, I guess. But I don't even know they're open. Like, I could tell they're open, like if I really focus on it, but they like to move. They like to kind of just, you know, go every which way. And like, it's funny because my friends will say, look over here, and I'm like, I can't, because I'll try to look and then my eyes will just like move. So that's kind of why. I think that if I really focus, like, okay, I'm gonna close my eyes, ready? Okay. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna open them, and if I really focus, I can open them, but they'll probably close within 2 seconds, or they'll move around. So that's why, and it does kind of help me to have them open because I can see there's a light on in the room. But if they were closed, it would still be the same. Does that make sense? Did I answer that okay? Yeah. I know it's super weird when your eyes move. When you can't tell them to stop. Anyways, any other questions?
Dennis.
How does your like sleep cycle work? Because like a lot of times people like rely on light to feel really tired wise. So like I'm just wondering like how does it feel like for you? Just like do you just drift into that slowly, or how does that work?
Man, you guys have good questions. These are the best questions I've ever been asked. So the sleep cycle, that's really interesting. So when I was a baby, my mom told me that I was a lot like a cat, which is not very encouraging to hear. But what she meant was that I was nocturnal. So you know how cats, they sleep during the day and they're kind of awake at night. And if you have a cat, which I will never have a cat, that's just my, I'm allergic, so that's why. But,
Yeah.
So cats, like, I'm gonna hurt you. No. So if you had a cat, you know that at night they like to run around. They're awake. So that's kind of how I was as a baby. Like my poor mother, when I was at night, I was so wakeful, and it's also like my brain didn't know what time it was supposed to go to sleep, and that goes with my disease. With blindness in general, it's hard, like you said, it's hard to differentiate. So my mom basically trained me, because you can train your babies when to sleep and when to not. So I learned over the years, but I still struggled as a child with sleeping at night. So I would lay in bed for 2-3 hours before I slept, and then I would wonder the next day why I fell asleep in class. So it was hard for me to sleep. And so when I was about 12 years old, I discovered this herb called melatonin that I could take. And your brain actually produces melatonin that helps you sleep. But when you're blind, your brain lacks that production of melatonin. And so I figured out that I could take tablets of melatonin to help me sleep. So I did that for a number of years. And I still do that now. I've kind of been a lot better about sleeping now, so it's not so hard now. But if I ever can't fall asleep, I just pop that melatonin in my mouth. It's totally natural. And I'm out within like 20 minutes. So it's definitely, you're right, it's definitely hard to sleep sometimes, but you can totally train your brain. So that's exactly how I learned to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Rose.
What's your favorite thing about being blind?
Ooh, my favorite thing about being blind. Well, that's wow, there's a lot actually. Okay, I'm trying to narrow it down to one.
You can just say them all if you want.
I think probably my favorite thing that I've experienced is the fact that I don't judge people by how they look. Because that's a tendency with everyone, and don't feel bad if you do that, because that's just human nature. That's what we do. We look at someone and we're like, man, does that girl take a shower? Like, like, does she brush her hair? That kind of stuff. And you look at them and you just automatically start to make judgments about them and about what they might do, or we just make assumptions too. And that, that's something I judge people for other reasons, which is wrong. But what I really like is that I can meet someone and really see them in a different way. So, you know, I'm not going to know if they have a pimple on their face, you know, like, I won't know, so it won't distract me from that person and who they really are. And I think that that's been the biggest blessing about my blindness. Besides, I don't have to see half of the stuff that goes on in this world that's not pretty. So that's nice too. So it's just, God has really shown me how to love someone for who they truly are. So I think that's probably my favorite thing.
Nick.
So you said, so the optical nerve you said is does not function properly, but do the other nerve endings in your eyes still work?
I believe they do. I haven't had my eyes examined very much because doctors don't really know what to do. They're like, well, your eyes are moving. You need to keep them still so I can see them. I'm like, I can't. So I haven't really had a whole lot of eye exams. But I think, I'm pretty sure that everything, from what the doctors told my parents, everything is there and everything should work. It's just that one nerve, which is the most important. So they say that, like, if they ever found out how to do retinal transplants, which would be a very tough surgery. I heard they've been working on it with a dog, but I don't think they've been successful. That I could probably see again if I had new retinas, which I would not want them to do that on me because it just seems like a really risky surgery to me. But that's what I would probably need. I think everything else would be fine. Although, now though, so okay, when I was 13, I actually found out that I have something called keratoconus. I didn't know until I was 13, but my corneas, which is like the outer, I think it's like the outer layer of your eye, my corneas were cone-shaped when I was born, which they're not supposed to be. So what happened was when I was 13 is this is gross, okay? My cornea ruptured. Oh. And it happened in one eye, and it was super painful. I had to go to the doctor every 2 hours for numbing drops. And then 6 months later, the other eye ruptured. Oh. And what my doctors told me was, at the time, that if I wasn't blind already, I would have gone blind at that point. Because my corneas just completely gave out on me. And they do corneal transplants. I probably would have had one of those, but now it's pointless because I'm already blind. But that would have made me blind if this didn't. So I'm like doubly blind, if that makes sense. So I guess my corneas are bad too. So I think besides the cornea and the retina, everything's great, I believe.
Chris.
Do you use technology or do you just stay away from it?
Ooh. Okay, I hate technology. I really do. I wish we still lived in the era where, like, we, you know, mailed letters at the post office and, like, had those, like, you know, no cell phones. I don't know. Listen. However, even though I hate technology, and I'm totally a dinosaur in my mind about that, it has been one of the greatest blessings in my life because nowadays they've made things so accessible for blind people. Like, I use an iPhone. I use a 5S, so I'm a little outdated, but and my iPhone has a setting, and so does yours, and if you want to try it out when you get home, do it, because it's really fun. You go under, let's see if I can remember this, settings, then you go under general, then you go under accessibility, and there's a thing called voiceover. You might have seen it. And if you click it on, your phone starts to talk to you. It's really cool. And it reads the screen to you, and so, like, if you're on your main screen, and you know how you have to, like, tap the phone to open it or the messages? So what happens is your phone will, when you tap it, it's not going to open it. It'll tell you phone, double tap to open. So what you do is you tap it again, and it opens the phone, or the messages, or the Facebook, or whatever app it is. So that's how I do everything. I go on Facebook that way, I check my messages that way, my emails, whatever I do on that. So that's been really awesome, and it's only been the last 4 years or so, that maybe 5 years that they've done that. And they also, Mac computers are the same way, iPads, everything. So all the Apple products, thanks to Apple, I love Apple, are blind friendly. So any blind person can do anything on an Apple device. So before Apple, I literally didn't really use, I had a cell phone, but like I couldn't text, I couldn't, you know, hardly do anything. So I use Apple, and I also use something called a Braille note, which is really cool because I told you guys I read Braille. And it's like basically a computer. I should have brought it, but I didn't. It's cool. So it's basically a computer, but it's not as big as a computer, and it has a Braille screen. And basically when I push the buttons, like the down arrows or the keys, the Braille screen changes. It's called refreshable Braille, so it changes. And I can write things, and it pops up on the Braille screen. So it's really cool. And I used to use an old-fashioned Braille writer where you put the paper in and then it's really loud and it clicks. But this has been a really cool invention too. So I do appreciate technology. I just don't really, you know, I'm not that great at it. Like, there's some blind people that are like technology gurus. Like, they can do anything. They're like, oh, your computer's broken, let me take it apart and fix it. I'm like, no. So, like, I'm not the kind of blind person that is into technology. There are plenty of those. I'm kind of like, I'll do what I can do, but I'm not that great at it. But it has been a great blessing. So that was a long answer to your question, but yes, I do use technology.
Max.
What hobbies or interests do you take part in on a day-to-day basis for recreation?
So, let's see. Well, I sing and play the piano. I love to do that. You know, if I'm ever bored, I just pull out the keyboard and mess with the different sounds on it. It's really fun. I also knit. I knit on a loom though, and if you guys are interested in how I do that, I have a YouTube channel. You just look up my name, Alyssa Hicks, and all my videos will pop up. Also, I have a Facebook page. It's a public figure page. It's called True Insight. Those are just words that, you know, I used to name my page that basically just tell you how I live, like the true insight of a blind person. It's totally a pun. But True Insight is, you'll find me if you look up that page. You can just like my page or follow it. And basically, I have a video on there that kind of shows you a little bit of how I knit. So there's a loom that I use, and I don't use needles. I probably will, but I don't right now. And it's really cool. It has a bunch of pegs, and so I've made scarves and blankets, and I love doing that. I can just sit on my couch and read a book, listen to a book, and knit for hours. It's super fun. So those are the things I really like. I like to take walks too with my husband. We take walks with Gabby too. You know, we like to go to the beach. That's where we had our first date. We just walk on the beach. It's like one of our favorite things to do. So yeah, I definitely have a lot of hobbies for sure.
Sen.
I have 2 questions.
Mhm.
So one, you mentioned that your little brother was blind, and I just
Yeah.
wanted to know if he, like, if religion in his life has helped him, do you think? And then 2, my second question was, what was your vocal register?
Oh, okay. Those are good ones. So about my brother, I actually should have explained this better, and I didn't go into detail during my story, but my brother is not only blind, remember I told you he had a cleft lip and palate, like his face was deformed? Well, he had surgery to fix that, or most of it anyway. But my brother has other developmental issues that we're not really sure why he has. So he's 22, almost 22. I guess he's 21 right now. But in his mind, I would say he's probably about 2 or 3. Maybe, I would say about 2. So he doesn't really understand a whole lot. He kind of has to have help with everything he does. He has to have help eating. My mom will blend his food kind of like in a soft texture so he doesn't have to chew it because he doesn't understand how to chew. And he can like go to the bathroom on his own, but he has to be told, and you know, be put basically in the bathroom and told when to go. So he, you know, so he doesn't talk. He kind of parrots. You know how like a 2-year-old will like echo something that you say. He does that. So my brother is a lot different than I am. I love him. He's very sweet, and I believe that he knows God in a way that we never could. You know, I think he understands God in a way that I wish I did, because I think that God God speaks to these kinds of kids in a special way. But yeah, I don't really know what's in his heart and his mind. He's never been able to communicate that. So that's my brother. He's super awesome. But as far as my vocal register, I am a soprano 1. However, I can sing alto if I want. I love singing harmony. I think melodies are boring, like the melody line. I like the harmony lines. But I am soprano 1. I was classically trained, so I've done a lot of classical pieces and things like that. So
I think we have time for one more question. I saw Daniel's.
It was kind of answered. I asked how, if you read, and if so, how. But you mentioned that you listen to books.
I do. I listen to audiobooks. I use the Audible app a lot. If you guys have heard of that.
Do you have a code?
And what? I missed that.
I said, do you have a code? Like a lot of YouTubers promote an Audible code. Now you're a YouTuber, so.
I don't. You know, I actually share an account with my other boyfriend, so I actually just use her password. It's really bad, but we share an account. But yeah, so I use Audible, and then also I do read Braille, and there are Braille books. I prefer to listen to books though, because reading Braille I'm a slow reader. So I just, you know, I don't like to sit there and have to read. But I do love to read out loud too. Like when I have kids, I'll read to them because I think there's something really healthy about reading out loud. It's good for your brain. So I definitely love Braille books too. And they make Braille books. They're a lot bigger. Braille takes up a lot more room because they're thick pages. But like my Braille Bible is, let's see, how many books is it? Because the Bible has 66 books? Yeah, 66. So I think it's like 50 books of Braille, like separate books
Wow.
that are my Bible. So it takes up like a whole room. No, not really, but like a big shelf. So yeah, I read 2 different ways. I prefer the audible way, but I can also read the Braille way as well.
Oh, Hannah, really quick.
I just wanted to know how do you read music?
Ooh. Well, I actually learned. It's a really good question. You guys are so good. I actually learned Braille music in college. I don't really like it. Since I was little, I've just learned music by memorization, by ear, just by listening, which is harder. It takes more time, but I prefer it. When I learned Braille music in college, it's a whole different Braille. Like it's not. It's a whole different, like almost like a different language. You know, it takes a long time to learn, and I've only learned the basics. And to me, it just kind of threw me off. I kind of like just memorizing, and learning by ear. I don't know if you guys have ever done that, but try listening to a song and just listen over and over, and then you'll know the words. It's pretty fun. So that's what I do, and I just put things on repeat a lot. I have read a Braille piece of music, but it's hard because I play piano, so I have to read my fingers, and so it'd be really hard to play and read at the same time. I would need like 4 hands. So I prefer to listen. It kind of made my college professors mad because they wanted me to be proficient, but I did the basics, and I got out of college. It was great. So I like to memorize, and I think that's the best way to do it because it also like helps your brain, and it strengthens your brain. So it's really fun that way. But yeah.
Thank you so much.